In this movie, we take another look at some other options that are available to us as far as our bullets are concerned. Now, even though CSS gives us a lot of options, as we've seen in the previous movie, we may not find the list item marker that we want from that available list. And if that's the case, then we probably want to end up learning how to create our own. And CSS does give us the ability to do this. So what we end up doing is creating our own custom bullet marker in our favorite image editing application, and then save that out as a file. Then, using our list style image property, we set the URL location for that specific image, and what it will do is use our custom bullet in the place of the traditional bullets, or numbering systems depending on what type of list we're actually using. When you're creating your images inside of your graphics application, you will need to take into consideration the size and the position of your image elements that you will be using as your bullets. The reason why is because we're not going to have any control over how your bullets will be displaying using this method. So we don't have any control over the size that the image will be pulled in at, nor do we have any control over the position of where that image element will show up at. It will just be placed to the left of our list item. So whenever you are setting these up, make sure that you set up the size and position appropriate for your different list items. Now, as we will see, this is not the only way that we can control the appearance of bullets, because we can do a little bit more complicated method to get the images that we want in place and also position them where we want them to. Now, we will take a look at how to do that in an upcoming section. But for now, we're going to end up using this method in our sandbox. Now, before we actually jump into the sandbox to see this in action, there's one last thing we want to mention about lists. Now, just like with backgrounds, fonts, paddings, borders, and margins, we have a shorthand way of defining our list style. So instead of having to state list style type, list style position, list style image, we can condense it all down into a shorthand method of writing it, which is list-style, and then state the type, the position, and then if we are using an image, we can state it there. Now, it's going to be a good idea for us to state what type we want to use in case the browser cannot find the image or it can't handle images inside of list items. Now, let's go ahead here and let's jump over into our sandbox and see this in action. So let's go over to our sandbox, and I'm going to modify my list style that I set up here with the styled item 1. So I'm going to go ahead here and add on the longhand way of writing this, which is list-style-image, and then I set my URL, which in my case is up one folder, then in the images folder, and then the custom bullet.png. Go ahead and save that and jump over into the browser here and just refresh. And there we have my custom little bullet. Now I want to jump back in there and replace all of that with my more condensed shorthand version. So instead of having to type all of that out, I just end up having to do list-style square inside, and then my URL and the location of that item. Of course, whenever we see this in the browser again, we're not going to see any difference. However, instead of it taking up 3 different declarations, we just have it condensed down into one. So I'll go ahead and save that, and then refresh, and there is no change, but indeed, we have changed how it's written on the back end. Now that concludes this look at adding in our own custom list bullets, as well as the list shorthand.